Hi, I'm Res- Hi, I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube, joined by at Vamp Alley, Alice Collins, is it? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's me.
And we're here to discuss Dark Shadows and we're mainly here to discuss Barnabas Collins, all iterations of him, Jonathan Fred, Bren Cross, Johnny Depp. So I have a question. When did you first get into Dark Shadows?
So I was sick from school one day, and I was on the Sci-Fi Channel as I usually was, and I came across this weird show where a couple of kids were sneaking into a closed-down wing of a mansion and found a secret passage, Quentin, storyline, the Quentin ghost. And after that, I was recording it every single day, and it has been one of my favorite shows ever since.
Wow, that's really cool. What was your favorite special effect?
My favorite special effect. Oh, you know, I actually my favorite one might be one of the bloopers. Angelique is building a house of cards and sets it on fire, and it goes up a lot faster than it was supposed to, and you can see her just all of a sudden go, huh? And just like just a quick little one before she, it's like because they were like all consummate professionals, like sets falling down all around them. They're still in character, but I always liked that one. Um, I wouldn't call it a special effect, but I always dig the end credits when you can see somebody walking around and they notice that they're filming. They're like, "Oh, you could turn around."
There's a lot of cool bloopers in Dark Shadows, and it's like they're really interesting too. It's like some of them are just like pure accident, and you can tell, which is cool.
Hmm.
But so Jonathan Frid plays vampire Barnabas Collins. The character is introduced in we finally see the character in episode 211. He's released by thief Willie Loomis, which I found this interesting. I don't know if you watched it on Tubi. No, I own a Coffin box set. Do you?
I um I I have the DVDs. I don't have like the whole box set, but I had been buying them as they came out.
Right.
So it's the same discs. And I've got them to my computer, so I got a little, so I can watch it whenever I want.
Cool. So on Tubi, for those who've watched it on there, it's funny. In the description box, Tubi has a description box like YouTube does, but their description box, some of the things are wrong with Dark Shadows, and it says handyman Willie Loomis accidentally lets a vampire out of his coffin, and I'm thinking, well, wait a second. Willie's not really a handyman when he does this, and I think they're going off two things really later on in the series. He sort of is fixing up the old house for Barnabas,
Hmm.
and really, but I think they're more going off the fact of House of Dark Shadows a bit.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I've noticed I have watched some of it on Tubi because sometimes I don't always have like my external easily available, so I'll throw it up on there, and some of them are absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting. So here's Jonathan Frid. He knocks on the door. He says he's a cousin from England to Mrs. Johnson, and she lets him in. What did you think of Jonathan Frid as Barnabas Collins?
His presence is very strong.
Yeah.
The way he handles himself, the way he pronounces the words, was just, he was really, really, like the first time I saw it, it was like, it was a while before I had seen that episode because it took Sci-Fi a long time to come around. And when I saw it after having seen it, I was still just like amazed at his presence and everything. And I really liked how they, he, used parts of the truth from his coming over from England and all that into his own backstory. And like, oh yeah, part of the England colonies.
Yeah. Here's what's interesting too. A friend of mine, I got a friend of mine, Daniel Culver. Shout out to him, Killenberg on YouTube. I got him in the Dark Shadows, and I said, listen. I said, listen. He goes, is there any kind of advice you want to give me going into this? I said, yes, one thing and one thing only. I said, whatever you do not believe that Collins family history book. Don't quote it as gospel because it's not exactly the most accurate thing. And he said, okay. But he was making his way through the Phoenix arc. Now, I watched it on Sci-Fi Channel to what you're talking about. I watched it on Sci-Fi Channel 2 in syndication. And Sci-Fi Channel had started from the very, very, very beginning with, well, Victoria Winters here. Um, so Alexander Iles's character, and rightfully so, that's where the show started.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see it, from the very beginning. That's how I'd caught it. I was just, it was during the summer, and I turned it on, and I'm like, oh wow, this looks interesting.
Yeah.
So I'd watched it, and I fell in love with it. It's really, really a great show. What were your thoughts on Barnabas? Now, Ryan Mitchell's not there too terribly long with Jonathan Frid, but he does have an interaction. Isbert Devlin
Mm-hmm.
does get like an interaction with him. What were your thoughts on their brief interaction? I know we're going to get, oh gosh, what's his name? The other guy goes
The other
along.
Burke.
Yes, I'm sorry. I actually, it's funny because I did a retrospective of him. But what were your, what was your thoughts on Mitchell Ryan's Burke Devlin's brief interaction with Jonathan Frid's Barnabas Collins?
Oh wow, I'm trying to think of my first reaction to it. It was, I actually can't remember. It's been a while. What were you thinking?
I really thought it was interesting because by this time Burke, I mean because keep in mind
Yeah, he had been in previously. Yeah.
they haven't quite kidnapped Maggie yet. So this is his first they're in the Blue Whale, and Barnabas has shown him the cane, and he's sort of admiring it. I thought it was really interesting how they did it because Burke's always so suspicious of everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and so but not not so much Barnabas, and I thought that was very very different of them to write it that way. But I guess this is the more calm down, cool, relaxed Mitchell Ryan Burke Devlin, which I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't mind that a little bit of change because you do want to mix up your character a bit to sort of, okay, he can't be picking up everybody and like, what's the truth? So I like their interaction. It's brief, it's not overly long, and
Mm-hmm.
it really sets up, to me, I always felt they were setting up Burke for this story as the hero.
I actually felt that too. I really, I like the character of Burke Devlin, um, and I really always I've definitely viewed it that way because just I'm as you were saying it, I'm getting the recollection of that interaction, and it's just it is very very interesting to see that how he is just sort of nervous around other people, especially new people. And this one comes in and it's like it makes me wonder, did was it just something about his Barnabas's demeanor or the way he just spoke, carried himself. That's I lost the thought.
It's okay. Take it down.
Yeah, I just thought that it was a very interesting thing compared to what I had previously seen because I did go through the Lord of the Phoenix plot line at that point, so he had I got to know him a little bit, and that was like I enjoy the earlier bits of Dark Shadows with trying to figure out Vicky's family lineage and stuff like that. I really wish they'd had picked up on that a little more before she left the show. I know I've heard some really good stuff in the audio dramas from Big Finish, but yeah.
What were your thoughts on? You have Willie Loomis, who everybody is looking for, and when Jason finally sees him, he's dragging into Blue Whale. He looks exhausted, and he sits down and Jason's 20 question, like, why is there blood on your shirt? And it just, they really build Barnabas very, very well prior to
Mm-hmm.
John Carlin. When you finally see Willie Loomis go into the old house, when Barnabas says, "Well, what are you waiting for? Like, come on." And Willie, you can tell Willie does not want to be there. He does not want to be around him. So, what were your thoughts on Willie Loomis and Barnabas Collins?
In general,
Yeah,
yeah, I love Willie. I feel so bad for him so much of the time. Just all of just the beatings that Barnabas gives him, the poor guy. And he really he tries to do his best with the whole Maggie situation. He tries to steer her away and do his best to take care of her. And and that shows a lot of the kind of person that Willie is, compared to the way that the Collinses or even Collinsport as a whole views him. And yeah, I just their interactions as they grew, I also liked too. And I just sort of liked their relationship, and it was very much like I wrote an article on the Collinsport Historical Society, and it was for Pride, and it was I called it Queer Shadows, and I got a lot of different vibes from Barnabas and Willie that they were, the hiding queer couple in the old house.
I think what I find really interesting about John Carlin and Jonathan Frid's performance of each in the old house is what builds it is I love the fact that they build it in the Blue Whale with Jason, and then when Jason takes him back to the Great House, he's like, I hear you calling me, and it's like it's creepy, and I love by the time Willie gets into the old house, and Jonathan tells him go, like Barnabas tells him go, it's like oh crap, and one of my favorite scenes is when you see Willie's face all black and blue,
Yeah.
and Barnabas is like, "No, I don't think I heard you correctly." Like, oh, oh shit, this isn't good for Willie.
Yeah, not good at all. The poor boy. I One of the things I did like as their relationship proceeded is after I mean I suppose it's non-canonical, but the Return to Collinwood cast production where they got everybody to come in with the death of Elizabeth for her funeral. They had Willie, what had happened, Barnabas and Julia had left Collinwood and we're out traveling, and Barnabas had given Willie the old house. So I liked sort of how that came full circle because, like he fixed it up and, he put a lot of care there. And I that was a nice little touch.
What was your Do you have a favorite scene of Barnabas and Willie together? Is there a favorite scene of yours?
Oh, I think a lot of my favorite scenes are to do with the Maggie arc, because Willie's starting to stand up for himself a bit more because he's been around Barnabas longer, and he's like, well, you're gonna do this, this, and this to me no matter what I say, no matter what I do. So, let's speak up. So, like, just some of the various different arguments, or just I always liked those. Those got really good. I think there was. I'm getting flashes in my head of Barnabas just sort of wielding the wolf cane at the bottom of a stairwell, and Willie's just like on the floor, and he's just out. But yeah, I liked the tension. I think in those scenes a lot, because it really gave you it gave you a great insight into both characters, actually, and even because like with Barnabas coming back, he's got to relearn all the new, like, how to act, a few hundred years later, because like, and his his anchor to the world really is Willie, in the beginning. So I like a lot of those earlier scenes. I like ooh, okay. Yeah. I'll go with that.
There's a scene where I'm trying to think of it when oh gosh, when after Maggie is pronounced dead to everyone else, but we know
Mhm.
that the Star Shadow sins, we know better. She's alive, and literally John Carlin does the best Jiminy Cricket, better than Jiminy Cricket I've ever seen, when he's in all but in Barnabas's ear. He might as well be on his shoulder. We killed that girl, Barnabas. We killed that girl. And
Mhm.
I'm just waiting for Jonathan Fritz Barnabas Collins to just turn around and go to work on him and go to town and just start
Mhm.
beating him profusely or like choke the life out of him. And he doesn't do it. And it's like, Willie
There's
got away with
growth.
Willie got away with it.
Yeah.
Oh crap. Willie just gave Barnabas a verbal beatdown in a way. And it's like you've been waiting for sort of Willie to get a bit of one-upsmanship here,
Mhm.
and that was really the first time that
Yeah.
you sort of see. I get where like where when David's in the old house and like David says he heard the dogs and then they're not out there anymore, and before Willie lets him out of the house, to go home, he goes, those dogs aren't out there no more. And he sort of looks over at Jonathan Fritz Barnabas like, nah, they're not out there no more. And Jonathan Fritz goes to walk him home. He goes, well, I can't let the child wander alone in the bewildering dark now, can I? And he's giving him a look like I ought to beat the hell out of you. But
Mhm.
it's just like, oh crap. But that moment of just Willie being in Barnabas's ear afterwards, it's no small moment to me. It's very, very interesting because what one, even when go back and watch it, I'm not expecting it. It's fun and it's just
Mhm.
finally a bit of a receipt for Barnabas in a way, where he sort of he has had his way up to a certain point, and it's just like, wow, Willie's like letting her know, hey, you're responsible. We're responsible for that girl's death. That girl being dead is on us. And I love it. And it's sort of trying, I think, in a lot of ways. And you could tell Frid's I'm sorry if I'm being long winded.
No worries.
You can tell Barnabas is really thinking about what Willie's saying. And
Yeah.
it lets you know there's a soul inside this man. He's
Mhm.
not just some monster. Because if he wasn't if he was just a monster, he would turn around and beat the hell out of Willie. He would choke him for what he's saying, but he knows what he's saying is true, and he's accepting that. And I
Yeah.
love it. I love that scene. It's not a scene. It's not a nothing scene. It's a scene that really, I think, means a lot more than.
It's very pivotal.
Right. I agree. What did you think of when Dr. Julia Hoffman came to Collinsport and confronted Barnabas?
Oh, that was one of my favorites. I I Julia, I have a love-hate relationship with, because, well, she was married. Grayson Hall was married to Sam Hall, so like later on, they're always trying to shoehorn her into the show wherever they could. But earlier on, I really liked how she was had gotten the sample, and like just she's also got that presence too.
Yeah.
That same kind of like very strong, very just no nonsense, and I love it.
Yeah. What did you think of? I love how she wants to pose as a historian. She doesn't want to tell
Yeah,
people she's a doctor. So
yeah.
what
She
did
wants to have do the history of the family.
you have this anonymity of not people not really knowing why she's really there?
Mhm.
Because as she puts it, and in many ways it makes sense, even though we know it's sort of like, do you? I've never really, prior to Dr. Hoffman, I'd never heard of a doctor having their own real agenda. And
Mhm.
here's Dr. Julie Hoffman, who does have her own agenda. She's not just lying to the Collins family. Hell, she's lying to Dave Woodard in a way. And it's like, wow. So this woman will also lie to get what she wants.
She's so driven. She's so like I feel like it's a really good character moment because it shows, that she's willing to do anything to, ensure the safety of people, which, part of the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. So she takes it the next step.
I love when after Willie, I know I'm jumping ahead, but I love how she Barnabas tells Julia to make sure Willie Loomis is dead after Willie gets shot and is taken to the hospital. And I'm thinking about the time when Willie was trying to talk Barnabas out of killing Julia. And when Barnabas tells Julia, she just goes to the hospital like, yeah, she's gonna 86 Willie. I'm thinking, damn girl.
Anything to get the job done, but
Right?
yeah, she wants to save people. It's the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few at that point for her.
I think the biggest moment too is the biggest turning point is when it's Dave Woodard's turn. When she does not want Barnabas to kill Dave Woodard. That's really Julie has done a lot of sort of harm to this point, but the sort of moment where, okay, I know what this here I won't do. So she wants to talk Dave Woodard into like maybe helping her, but he ain't having none of it. Like, no, you can't do like. And I love Barnabas sticks Dave Woodard with the needle. So what did you think of the death of Dave Woodard?
Um, to be honest,
Yeah.
it doesn't stick out too much for me. In hindsight, uh, but oh, trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's been a hot second since I've seen the Barnabas Unchained arc. Um, okay. That's all I can remember. I just I remember that it didn't stick out too much to me, but you know, the ramifications that come along with it definitely reverberate through.
Right, because here's when Barnabas materializes in front of the window and he's looking at Dave Woodard. That's a great scene.
Mm.
But you're right. The It's more about what happens post his death. His death, though the killing, I could see people like forgetting like the fact that he was killed because his death. It's not so much his death; it's the events after his death. Because I mean, we have 17. Not Julia causes basically insists on the séance. This is where Julia turns against him, and now Julia did try to poison, which I want to get your thoughts on. So, what did you think about Dr. Alpha trying to poison Barnabas?
So, yeah, with transfusions, um, I I sometimes think that maybe she's like it's for the best, just overall, because she's like I've seen enough of this, it's not working so great, so let's see what happens. Like, and also maybe it's like purely an analytical thing, like can he be killed by poison?
Yeah, right. Right. But he turns old, and I had this like there's this picture of Barnabas, the old man Barnabas from the series that I got, and Julie is standing there like behind him, and I put above the picture on my Facebook page, Julia, do you take AARP? It's like it's funny because it's like he they actually do him even older in House of Dark Shadows, which is
Yeah, I've got the VHS over there, and it's like there's a picture of it right on the back where he's throttling her.
right, right. So, what did you think of Old Man Barnabas in the series and in House of Dark Shadows? Which one did you prefer with the way they
I
did the effect?
I actually like the House of Dark Shadows one. And it's not like a black and white versus color kind of thing. Like I love black and white flicks and the earlier episodes of Dark Shadows before they switched over. But it was, shot on a lot better film so you could see the effects, and it really like the first time I saw it really like it gave me a very visceral reaction. And that is definitely my favorite of the two there.
And to your point too, that scene, the with Julio standing behind him in the series, that I think that's done in color, if I'm not mistaken. I think that episode's done in
That
color.
might okay,
So
okay, yeah. I because I know there's a handful of episodes that where they are had switched over to color and then they were in black and white, for an episode or two and then back. Yeah. I think like I said, I think still even then it's a yeah. Oh god, yeah, it is color. um, I think the upgrade in film stock really helped to really sell the body horror of that. Because even though Barnabas is a repentant vampire, he's still such a bastard. And it just sort of shows a little bit of what's inside, at that point, because he's still, just you're probably gonna go a little mad while you're in a coffin for a few hundred years after your own dad locked you in there.
yeah,
So I think there's a lot of very reactionary kind of stuff. And it just, there's a lot of different, like early on in, on in there, when they're doing the, transfusions and all that. That's like, right at the beginning when he's first starting to, it's like you're talking about the Jiminy Cricket moment, like that's the turning point where he's like, oh yeah, it's like, he's like been in this almost a fugue state, sort of like he's just in pure survival mode, and now he's trying to live a little more instead of just, there. And it's like he gets to that point and it's just pure betrayal, and it like almost brings him a few steps back in his recovery of from just being alone that long.
Yeah, he's really, I agree with you. When he comes out, he sort of is in survival mode in a lot of ways. And the biggest way, like, too, with the attack of the cattle, of the sheep and the calves, and I think that's sort of telling, too, when you see Joe Haskell come in, he's sort of looking like sad and like depressed and sort of in shock all at the same time, because he just can't believe it. Like, why would someone drain an animal of their blood? That makes no sense. Like, what would you do with it? Like,
Yeah.
so, and I love Burke's line. Well, anybody who takes a calf knows what they're going to do with it, and he's right. He's
Yeah.
right. He's 1,000% right. Like, you don't just take a calf for no reason. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason. And then they found, like you said, he says the calf was completely drained of blood. And to your point, that's sort of Barnabas on this survival mode of, I need to feed. I've been locked up all this time. That's a great, great observation. I love that. And so, what did you think of? They have the seance. Victoria Winter. Oh, sorry, I actually jumped ahead. I'm sorry. Carolyn becomes Barnabas's new sort of servant.
Yeah,
And
sort of a ghoul.
he bites her to become young again. And now this is done twice. Once in the series, and then in House of Dark Shadows. So, what did you think of Carolyn becoming the new servant in the original series?
That one really interested me because, at that point, he's still, just back to the sheep and cattle for a second. That's little, you can tell Barnabas has still got a bit of that humanity in there. And, he's on autopilot going into Collingwood and all that because it's the only place he knows. And, he's got this family now. And it just, like, I see a lot of Barnabas's, I let's call it like a recovery from trauma kind of thing, and I see the sort of as a slip backwards when he does make Gula Carolyn, and that one has always been interesting to me. And like in the movie version, like he full on turned everybody into vampires in that one. I like House Dark Shadows a lot. The just sort of the alternate universe version of that story, and yeah.
House of Dark Shadows, in a fun way, is sort of like the turned up version of Dark. It's like a full, like, they're turning everything up, the blood, the violence,
Mm-hmm.
the vampires, and it's a really fun movie to watch. It's pure entertainment. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It's nonstop, and the show's really entertaining too. I love the fact that Carolyn, unlike Willie, seems to enjoy it. Like, she's enjoying, like,
Yeah.
being a
Well,
part.
well, I mean, like, I mean, she's pretty sheltered, you know,
Right.
living up in Collinwood, you know, just away from the rest of the people in the city, or well, the town really. And you know, I guess, you know, I guess she was bored. It was just like, okay, yeah, let's do it. You
Mhm.
know, a little bit of a rebel moment, like when she was dating early on. What was his name? The biker guy.
Buzz
Buzz, yeah. I think that was it.
or
But
Bud or Buzz, I think it was.
yeah. Yeah, it was one of the two. And I think that she's just sort of, you know, just sort of in a rebellious moment.
Yeah. I love the fact that when Carolyn after Carolyn's bit, she's enjoying it, and she literally does pretty much anything Barnabas asks. I
Hmm.
mean, there's no no to her. There's no hesitation. This isn't Willie Loomis who's sort of like, I don't know, but she is all for this, and I think how far she was willing to go too during the seance, her faking being Sarah. What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, that one, that was just evil.
Right?
um, that 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 was maybe at the time she may have been feeling a little guilty and wanted to get back at Barnabas a little bit because like she would have known, you know, that would have been a weak spot for him.
Yeah.
So I evil and just diabolically wonderful.
Mm.
You know, let Barnabas get a little taste of his own medicine for a little bit.
Oh, my fa- it, my favorite part about this is once Sarah actually makes contact through Victoria, and Carolyn looks over at Barnabas, and he shakes his head, nope, or there's nothing because Barnabas now realizes there's nothing I can do here but watch and find out what happens.
Hmm.
And it sort of makes you wonder what would have happened if there's no switch, if there's no, Phil's Wick for Victoria Winters. Like, if Sarah just spills the beans, like right here, what's he gonna do? Is he just gonna murder everyone at the table?
He'd have to. Like, I mean, the Collins obviously got, you know, they got their skeletons
Yeah.
in the closet. So it's like, what would they do? Would they take the information in and just be like, well, let's take a moment to unpack, and maybe they'd try to, you know, subdue him, or I think though Barnabas might freak out a little bit and probably kill them all at that point.
There's a lot more to get to of Jonathan, so I'll ask this: What
Okay.
did you? I'll ask about. I want to ask about Ben Cross and Johnny Depp's. What did you think of Ben Cross's Barnabas Collins?
Okay. I got a quick little story here. I was at a I had no idea that there was a remake of Dark Shadows at the time. I was a kid. I was just like maybe a year after I'd found it. And I was at this tag sale just in the basement of some church or something, and I just saw a videotape that said Dark Shadows on it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, because the MPI tapes, like you'd get like 4 or 5 episodes, but they were like 50 or $60. So I could never afford them. So I was really excited, and I put this in, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, like it sounds like Dark Shadows, it looks like Dark Shadows. And when Ben Cross comes in, he's even got more of he's got more of a, I want to say, elegance to him,
Yeah.
and a lot of there's a lot more empathy in his performance. I feel, but only because they condensed like 200 episodes down into those 12 episodes.
Right.
So they would have had to kickstart that line of growth quicker. Um, I like Ben Cross's performance. I enjoy the remake, and sometimes if I'm feeling like it and I want to just like start over, sometimes I'll just start with the remake and then jump into 1797.
Right.
Because it's actually, I mean, it's not seamless, but like seen it enough that I can do that. Also, just quick shout out because the one thing that always that had made me laugh at the time I'd seen it is I love Highlander,
Mhm.
and what's his brother's name? It's his brother's name is is it, I can't remember. Barnabas's brother. Off the top
Oh,
of my head.
Jeremiah
Oh yeah,
Collins.
Jeremiah. Yeah, you've got Duncan MacLeod as Jeremiah Collins, and I really liked that. And cause like literally the year after was when Highlander had started. So but that was always a little interesting. You know, side note for it there,
Yeah.
and yeah. I like Ben Cross. Jonathan Frid is my favorite overall for sure. But Ben Cross is definitely up there, especially like just there's a lot more humanity in him that you can see, especially the scenes with Vicky, like when they're walking on the beach and just talking and getting to know each other. There's a lot more just a little bit more depth in there that I enjoy.
I really enjoy the fact that it's so hard to play a part that someone else already played to perfection. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
here's Ben Cross. He's an established actor. He's a hell of an actor, but he's being asked to play Barnabas Collins from Dark Shadows. Now he's not being asked to be Jonathan Frid, but what I love about him is he doesn't try to be. He
yeah,
literally does do his own Barnabas. I always say that Ben Cross is the James Bond Barnabas because
yeah.
he's so like laid back and cool and like
Suave.
suave, right? And I love the fact my favorite scene is when Julia Hoffman when they see the ghost of Angelique and Julia Hoffman's like, what or who was that? And he's like, that, my dear doctor, was Angelique. And he's so like, there's no fear. He's just calm and like matter, like it's like, oh,
Yep.
matter of fact, that's Angelique. And it's like, damn, dude.
Yeah, fearless. He
Right.
is just like, okay, well, all this weird stuff has happened to me already.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm down. That's her. We're gonna have to deal with that later.
Yeah. What did you think of the 2012 Johnny Depp's portrayal of Barnabas?
Okay, I like most of Tim Burton's Dark Shadows movie. I wish they had taken out a little bit of the more like it's very intentionally campy, whereas the original series is just campy on its own qualities. Um, but Johnny Depp, um, like one thing that I liked, like when he would go into beast mode, like when he's killing the hippies and all that.
Yeah.
I like him, like just I love his wit in it. So like some of the comedy bits I do like. I do wish they'd stuck to a more serious tone,
Right.
like like just for instance when Elizabeth and is just talking to just very matter of factly with Barnabas once she, finds out. Like I wish it stuck with that rather than just because it was very goofy. But I still think that he is a decent Barnabas. Just you know, he Johnny Depp became an actor because of Dark Shadows. Like he saw Jonathan Frid and was like, "That's what I want to do," and he gets to be Barnabas. So it's like he's definitely put a lot of thought into it. But I think he was also hindered by the scripting a bit.
I think here's what I'll say. It felt like he was trying to find his Barnabas throughout this film. And I do think there's times where the moment it feels like they're going to do something good, they do something completely like off the wall. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I sort of wish we would have, to me, Dark Shadows needs to be more than just one movie. It
Yeah.
needs to be like a 3 film set, and one, like, instead of trying to stuff a whole series into 2 hours, which, because
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy. And what I
Yeah.
would
They.
love, sorry, what I would love to see is them go back, do 1795. When they had, it's funny, when they had cast Alice Cooper, my hope was that he would be Barnabas's father,
Me
and
too.
and you could have had, to me, Joshua should have done. They should have done a 180 with Joshua. Jeremiah should have been the dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua should have been this kind, caring doctor. And when his son's like dying of vampirism, he's trying to save his life. He's like pumping his chest, like, breathe, God damn it, breathe. And you see the skin turn gray. Sarah, like, in the room, like, you were supposed to save him, and here's this guy, this doctor, who has saved lives, and the one person he can't save is his own son because he's cursed.
Yeah.
And I think that if you would have told that story, you would have had a hell of a
Yeah.
movie, But Seth Graham Smith, I'll never forget him for.
Yeah. It's like I said. There's good bits in there, but it's too jokey and too weird. Like the the toothbrush scene in the mirror. Like, why can you? It's and would the Collinses really still have a mirror with silver in it at that point?
I love, I love Eva Green and Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie. They really are really great in that movie.
Yes.
My only real issue is, I think, at times, because Angelique's almost likable in that movie, and that's, you
Yeah.
know Laura Parker's Angelique. You wanted to strangle that woman.
At all times. Yeah.
Right, right. But so we'll get back to Jonathan Fritz. What did you think of that 1795, the original 1795? Barnabas Collins. Basically, Victoria's meeting him for the first time all over again, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the 1795 plot, 17 and 97, 1795, yeah, is one of my favorites throughout the series. Um, just because you get to see, little rich boy Barnabas and Alexandra Mackie's acting. Um, just how she has to keep everything a secret and everything is phenomenal. Um, and I really, really liked, it introduces, you get the Trasks, and you get you just that there's a lot of material to sink your teeth into, so
Uh,
to say.
yeah, 1795 literally is a journey. I mean, it's Victoria Winters. because a friend of mine had asked me this. He goes, "Well, does Victoria Winters tell the story of 1795?" And I'm like, "No, really. They're more using Alexander's character to get you there,
Hmm.
but really, you experience 1795 through the people who lived it:
Yeah.
Barnabas, Angelique, Joshua, Naomi, Trask, Nathan. That's how you experience it. And really, thank God, I love. Look, my favorite character is Alexander Iles's Victoria Winters,
Hmm.
but I'm glad they did that because that made the most sense.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it really helps because, after, I mean, that comes in at nearly 200 episodes, and you've had, Barnabas coming back, you've had the Maggie being, kidnapped, and the marriage thing and all that. And they had, even though, like Vicky and Maggie were friends, they're sort of, she took a little bit of she was on the back burner just a tiny bit. And I just, I liked how they were able to, really just change it up a little bit. You still got her as governess, but you're getting to understand the rest of the family because you can see, like a lot of the generations of the Collinses, they can be a little similar, not just because they're being portrayed by the same actors, but, there's family, mannerisms and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed seeing that a lot.
what did you think of the curse? Literally, Angelique's Laura Parker's performance as Angelique.
I love her as the woman spurned. She is fantastic. She is just so over the top. She's this big presence. And just, as she's going on there, and, when she finally decides to curse him, it's, that scene is so cool. I love that scene. She acts the hell out of it. It's like you're not seeing Laura Parker, you are seeing Angelique, and that's one of my favorites.
Is Laura Parker's Angelique, is she the best witch ever, you think?
Best witch. Oh, that's a tough one. She. I've never seen a witch come back as many times as her.
Right?
Like all of her backup plans, and she's so methodical. She's so very just. She is constantly scheming and planning, and she's always a step or two ahead. And she might be. She definitely might be in that department. It's like yeah. I'm gonna go with definitely.
Oh,
She's delightfully evil.
by the end of 1795, you know, right before Barnabas is chained into his coffin, he's asking his dad to kill him. Now we know that's not going to happen, but when you first saw that, like, how shocked were you of how far the family history book was actually off?
Oh, um, it it shocked me just a bit. Um, the thing that really resounded with me though was the not only him asking his father to kill him, but it's very emotional, and you can feel it, like just right there, and it is such a it's very memorable to me. Like I can see it, like close my eyes, and yeah, like finding out, how wrong everything is with that, with the family book. When it went after he chains Barnabas up and goes and literally, changes the history himself. No, man, Barnabas went to England. That was definitely a shocker moment and a good. I think it was a great way to, put a bookend on that arc before you come back to the seance where everybody's frozen in 1967.
What did you think of once they bring Vicky back? Barnabas kidnapped Vicky. We're going to get introduced to Dr. Eric Lang and the creation of Adam. So, what were your thoughts on the Adam arc with Barnabas now being human?
Yeah, I am not a huge fan of the Adam arc. Like I love the Frankenstein story. It kept going and going and going and going, and the things that I found interesting about it, though, were just Barnabas is finally human, but now he's entangled with another almost supernatural entity because, if Adam dies, so does Barnabas.
Mhm.
And but I did enjoy, the scenes with Adam and Barnabas, just like teaching him to read and them playing chess together and stuff like that. Those were the parts that I really enjoyed. It was just that they dragged it on longer than I feel it could have been a bit shorter. Because like I remember the first time I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, okay, I've been watching this for weeks and weeks, weeks. So I and I've rewatched it since then,
Mhm.
and it's still it's not my favorite arc, but there's a lot of great moments. I'd say.
My favorite scene from the Adam arc is when Cassandra slash Angel
Yeah,
is lifting up the axe, and and Nicholas Blair is standing behind her. He's got his eyebrow like no, like no, what are you doing? And he stops her from killing him. What did you think of Helen Humbert's Alshretta's Nicholas Blair?
I love Nicholas Blair. He is so flamboyant. He is so just. He's almost a chameleon because the way he presents himself to all the different people is just slightly different. And you've got the one that's the Collinses know, but then there's also the one that Angelique knows, the one that is going to like, I will kill you.
Yeah,
I won't hesitate.
no. He's like everyone's favorite Uncle Warlock you want to hang out with.
Yeah.
But know if you hang out with this man, there's a 99.9% chance something bad's gonna,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, that's I love how it was Humbert Alan Estrada, I want to say.
Mm.
But yeah, that played him. He really just he goes all in. He goes full ham. A lot of scenes. He just Nicholas Sparks is one of my favorite characters. He's got a lot. He's got a great story to him. When every time he shows up, it's I love how it's surprising, and just like the first like that first scene when opens the door and there he is, and it's fantastic.
After the Adam arc, we're gonna get into the Quentin Collins arc. Barnabas is, pretty much he's a human. Adam's
Hmm.
he's not a vampire anymore, and we're going to go back into 1897. They're going to use the I Ching wands. What did you think about that?
I found that really weird because I knew what I Ching was. My father had like the cards, coins, and all that, and I was just like, what? Uh, that was my first reaction to it. And but that arc is I I like that arc, like with like the hand of Count Patafi, and that I like that a lot. Thayer David's great in that. Um, and I liked how in that arc, Barnabas is just like, oh great, I'm a vampire again.
Right. What
He's just dejected.
What did you think of him and David Selby's chemistry?
Ooh, fantastic. The antagonism between the two. I like Evil Quentin a lot.
Mhm.
Because you got the good Quentin that comes out later, but the evil Quentin, the one that I mentioned in the beginning, that was my first introduction, was the ghost of that Quentin. Um, David Selby is such a phenomenal actor. Like I like I will watch movies just because he's in them. He has such a presence. I really love that he cares a lot about Dark Shadows to the point of still coming back, still
Mhm.
doing the audio dramas and stuff. And I think that's just wonderful because he's still very prolific with his stage work. His Abraham Lincoln on the stage is amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the chemistry between those two is just phenomenal. I always love watching them on screen together, or like reluctantly having to team up at times, just sort of getting to know that part of the family because like not only are you learning it, Barnabas is learning about that part of the family because he was stuck in that coffin. So he
Right.
wouldn't know.
Who who in Dark Shadows is your favorite villain?
I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but I despise him so much that I will skip scenes with him. Is Jason McGuire?
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I just him constantly like blackmailing Elizabeth about Paul. It was just I was just like, come on, I can't handle you. But my favorite villain, it, Angelique, definitely. But
I,
yeah, that's the I love to hate her. I just can't stand Jason McGuire, but I'm thankful for Jason McGuire because we got Willie.
right. That's the one thing I was telling a friend of mine. I said, look, Willie did not come to Collinsport looking for Barnabas here. I said,
Yeah.
if it weren't for Jason McGuire coming to Collinsport, we wouldn't have got Willie in Collinsport. So,
Yeah.
my favorite villain is Count Patofi. I love the hand and the whole warlock thing. That to me was so awesome. I think that to me the hand is still out there somewhere, and so is Patofi. I don't think he's
It
totally
is.
gone.
It is. I know that the hand has been involved in some of the one-offs for the Big Finish audio dramas. So at least, in that I mean that's as canonical as you're gonna get. It's not official canon, but it might as well be because it's the original actors.
Yeah.
So I know they've brought it, and he's definitely out there, and that's the from the 1800 storyline there. That the hand is always the one that sticks out to me. Thayer David is so good in every role on Dark Shadows, but especially in that.
Yeah. What did you think of when after Barnabas comes back to 1897 from 1897 before he does he's met by the Leviathans, and by the time he comes back he's working for the
For
Leviathans.
them.
What did you think of that?
So that one is it's got a okay. The Leviathan storyline's got a lot of great ideas.
Yeah.
The execution of those ideas are a little um, uneven, I think. But I do really like this, like the Lovecraftian eldritch horror of them. Like they are the original, like, they are the original, denizens of Collinsport.
Right.
And they want it back. I really like, so there's a lot of great ideas there, but it didn't always land for me. But I do like, I always I like evil Barnabas a lot. Like I love good
Yeah.
Barnabas, because I like Barnabas is like is my favorite character, like just throughout the whole series, because I've got a Barnabas poster on my wall. And it's just it's cool to see him, just sort of be evil, and also just sort of like, you know in that state he's in, because he's got no control. And I just yeah, I take evil Barnabas. He's always good at it.
I think my favorite part of it, there's a lot of things I like about the Leviathan arc. I love the breathing. It's very creepy and strange.
Yes.
My favorite special effect actually is that breathing. This is a full, what, 11 years prior to John Carpenter's Halloween. And that breathing to me is as creepy as Michael Myers' breathing, if not more so. And
Yeah.
my favorite part of of Sky Rumson's heel turn is the best twist I've seen in Dark Shadows. It's the biggest gut punch. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I fully agree. I dig it.
It was like, it's something I did not. And here's the thing, I made the biggest mistake with this, and it's like, I gave Sky the benefit of doubt of when he told Angelique, "Oh, I missed the train. I forgot to tell you." I believed him. He
Hmm.
sold me. I'm like, and then I'm like, "You son of a bitch! God damn it!" But it's a great heel turn.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of Barnabas goes back to 1840?
Hmm.
Judah Zachary.
Judah Zachary. I dig Judah Zachary. How can you not? You
Right.
know. Oh, what even is there to say? Yeah. Go on.
I think Judah Zachary to me is one of the best characters in Dark Shadows. It's an 1840 needs to be go back. People need to go back and study, because that 1840 Judah Zachary being the civilian is amazing. I mean, this guy is
Mhm.
a pure. He's so pissed at Barnabas. He's pissed at the Collins family that he destroyed Collinwood.
Mhm.
No one else did that. And
Yeah.
it made him such a badass. And he was. Do I love Angelique's backstory? No, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but
Hmm.
I'll, I'll swallow it. It's not awful. It just, I couldn't. I'll never forgive Angelique, because to me, Angelique killed Sarah.
Yeah.
It's like,
She killed a child.
once you kill a kid, there's no coming back from that kind of hell.
Hmm.
you know, so I think that's Judah Zachary, though. Other than that's my only real nitpick. But other than that, Judah Zachary, James Storm's performance, it's lights out. It's perfect. 1840
Yeah.
is a beautiful, beautiful story, and it's an amazing story. To me, it's on it is on par with 1795 and 1897.
Mhm.
Sure, it doesn't have all these other villains, but it doesn't need them either. I mean,
You've
Gabriel's
got the presence.
right.
You've got it's so big.
Gabriel being able to walk is shocking, and him being a murderer is shocking. But to know that there's a warlock who's sadistic, that
Mhm.
trumps everything, and he's just out for revenge is awesome.
Yeah. I really liked that. Like, previously, I'd really dug, the witch hunter Trask that they, bricked up in the wall. He was just like, I love to hate him.
Yeah.
And his, like, and like I said, Angelique's like my favorite. And I love to hate her. But I just despise that Trask. And then you get Judah Zachary. And I'm just like, oh, he's such a bastard, but he's so good at it.
So the Dark Shadows sequel series, I have to ask you this before I let you go.
Yeah.
Who would you cast as Barnabas Collins?
Oh my. Who do you choose? I am. It's so hard to replace Barnabas. Jonathan Frid and Ben Cross are definitely hard acts to follow.
Right.
You need somebody that's decently, good looking. They're in their 30s. I'm trying to think of actors that, really fit the bill and can really pull it off. Like, if I actually one thing that I would have found interesting is if they had cast Jackie Earl Haley as Barnabas in the in the Tim Burton one. That would have been really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because that guy can really act.
Yes, he can.
He um he was so underutilized in that. I'm trying to think. It's like, when someone asks you what your favorite movie is and you blank out, and it's like, now I can't think of any actors. Like,
Well, here's the thing. That's what I'm sort of known for here on this channel with all my guests. Like, I ask questions, and it's like, oh, that's good. Let me think about that one. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
oh, it's okay. It's just it's one of those things. It, oh, I'm gonna be thinking about this later. I
It's
might
fine.
have to get back to you on that one.
You most definitely. It's not. I did not mean to stump you, but
No, it's
it's
okay.
really. Please do get back to me on that on Twitter. But it was been a real honor having you on. I want to thank you for taking the time and joining me and talking Dark Shadows with me and talking about Barnabas.
Oh,
Is
thank
there
you for
anything?
having me.
Is there anything you want to add before we go?
Oh, can I do some plugs?
Sure, go ahead.
Cool. Well, just yesterday on Tubi, the first film I worked on was released.
Cool.
It's called Fontaine and the Vengeful Nun That Wouldn't Die. It is a very 70s grindhouse exploitation revenge film with nuns and katanas.
Oh wow.
Uh, it's a lot of fun. Uh, yeah, it's free. Check it out. I am one of the associate producers, and I contributed a few tracks for the soundtrack. And then coming up this year, later on, will be the mental health and horror documentary that I'm helping to produce.
Cool. Big
Yeah,
congratulations on that.
thank you.
So guys, go check out Alice's movie. Go follow on Twitter at Vamp Alley, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Did I get
right.
that right? Thank God. There's times I mispronounce things. If I do, please correct me. Don't feel free. So, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me tonight. You have a great night.
Me too. I love talking Dark Shadows. Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
Me too. I had fun, and I love talking Dark Shadows. I created this channel literally to get people on to talk about it with me. So,
That's good. Yeah, yeah. It can take a little bit of time to find somebody to talk to. If
I,
you can get a hold of them, talk to Phil Noble Jr. He is a gigantic Dark Shadows fan. Like that's how I had met him, was just talking with Dark Shadows. So he would be a fantastic guest. So yeah.
I'll definitely try to do it. I've had a bunch of people in here. I've had Christine Pearson, Cara Tillies. I've had Patrick McRae. I've had Mark Gilman. I've had at Dark Shadows Twitter, and now I've had you. So thank you so much for taking the time to join me, guys. Go check out the film. There's a documentary coming up. You have a great night.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Be safe.